This screencast is going to tell you how to name molecular and covalent compounds. CO2 is a very common molecular compound, and if you remember, what identifies a molecular compound is the starting element. So if it's a nonmetal, then you know that you're going to be using the system of naming. And this is one that you should be familiar with. Hopefully you know the name carbon dioxide. A similar compound that you may not be as familiar with is CO. Its name is carbon monoxide. So what you might notice is there are numbers in this name. So CO has the mono for 1, carbon dioxide had the di for 2. So this will be a little bit different than naming your ionic compounds. So what you're going to do is name the first element with a prefix if the number is not 1. So if we go back to our carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide, you'll notice there's no prefix on those, it's just carbon. If I do an additional example of N2O5, okay, this one will have a prefix, so its name will start with dinitrogen because there are 2 nitrogens in its formula. So you need to indicate that there are 2 in the formula. So that's a change from the way that we name ionic compounds. So what you've seen thus far are 2 of the prefixes. So in carbon monoxide, for the 1 oxygen, you saw the prefix mono, and in dioxide and dinitrogen, you saw the prefix di. So I'm going to list here the rest of the prefixes, and you should put these in your notes because you are responsible for these. If you know your geometric shapes, this helps a lot. So a 3-sided figure is a triangle, so if it's 3 atoms, it's tri. A 4-sided figure, there's lots of options, a square, a rectangle, but they're all classified as tetrahedrons, and if you know that little game called Tetris where the 4 blocks in different arrangements fall down, you might be able to remember the 4 for tetra. Okay, so you might know pentagon or pentagram with 5, hexagon, okay, for 6, hepta for 7. And be careful, those of you that are studying French, it's septa in French, but it's hepta in English, so be careful with that. 8 is octa, so again, the stop sign, 8-sided figure. 9 is nona, and 10 is deca. Okay, we're going to go back and finish the example N2O5. So we know the first part of the name is dinitrogen. So again, first step is you use the whole name of the first element with a prefix if it's not 1. So we're going to go on to step 2. Just like we did before, you're going to skip a space. It's like you have a first and last name, so do compounds. And then thirdly, for the second element, name the second element with a prefix for the number. So even if it's 1, so there's no exclusion, there has to be a prefix on the second one. So you saw that in carbon monoxide, so we did specify the 1. And again, the suffix IDE. So that part is similar to naming ionic. It has the suffix part IDE. So the final part of this name would be pentoxide. So sometimes you will see pentaoxide, but typically you're going to drop the vowel if there's 2 of them. And again, I'll give you some spelling leeway on this. So another example would be C4H10. So 4 means tetra, so you're going to see tetracarbon. So again, no change to carbon at all, just that prefix. And then you're going to see 10 for the hydrogen, so 10 is deca. And because hydrogen is the second one, it's going to get an IDE ending, decahydride. Okay, at this point you're going to be completing the worksheet molecular compounds. This is side 1 only of this worksheet, but both Roman numeral 1 and Roman numeral 2. When you're finished, you will need to post this, that it's done, and have Mrs. Erdman check it. Thank you.